We find ourselves now 2 weeks before Shavuos, before the holiday of Shavuos, which is the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. So we're going to be discussing this evening the concept of Matan Torah, the concept of giving the Torah. There's an interesting talk, 1964, the Rebbe gave on the second day Shavuos at a gathering, and the Rebbe begins the gathering, his talk, in a very interesting way. That in the past they would say in regards to a wedding that as a result of the many different things that take place and the commotion that takes place by a wedding, they need to make sure that they shouldn't forget about the priority, the primary concept of the wedding, which is the officiating the wedding between the groom and the bride. Shavuos is a time of wedding. Our sages tell us, Uv'yem chasanosei zu matan Torah, in the tractate of Tainus, that the day of the wedding is considered matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. And this consists of two concepts. There is the wedding of the Almighty with the Jewish nation, and then there's the wedding of the Jewish nation with Torah. Torah is considered the bride of the Jewish nation. The tractate in Sanhedrin says, Torah tziva lanu Meisha meirosha kilas Yankev, that Torah was given to us through Moshe, through Moses, meirosha, as an inheritance. So the Torah, our sages tell us that meirosha also is meurasa, engaged. She is engaged to the Jewish nation. Torah is considered the kala, the bride of the Jewish nation. In reality, these two opinions do not contradict each other. There is the opinion that it's the wedding between the Almighty and the Jewish nation, and then there's the opinion that it's the wedding between the Jewish nation and the Torah. Wow. One leads to another. Through the wedding that is accomplished between the Jewish nation and Torah, so the Medrash anthology, it's mentioned, a very interesting parable is given. It is a parable of a father that marries off his daughter and says to the groom, "You're marrying off my daughter? Please have a little room in the house that I should have a corner there also." Practically speaking, it's not an easy thing, a father-in-law in the house, but basically this is a parable that is mentioned in anthology. It's mentioned in Medrash, in the Chumash of Exodus, Shmos, chapter 33. It's his only daughter. Father wants to be close to her. So, in a sense, by marrying off his daughter to the son-in-law, the son-in-law is also getting closer to the father. There's also a marriage, which basically speaking about in reality, what's taking place is that through the Almighty giving us His bride, His daughter, Torah, we are then also getting married to the Almighty Himself. So it's a double marriage, a two-step process. One is marrying the Torah, which is considered the bride of the Jewish nation, and then the second concept is the Jews are considered the bride of the Almighty. But the connection between the Jewish nation originally coming through Torah is only a connection through Torah they connect to the Almighty. Through Torah, through the Kala, through the bride, the groom connects to the Almighty. But the truth is, in reality, that then there is a separate connection, a separate bond between the Jewish nation and the Almighty. And this is basically and overall the concept of marriage that is expressed on the day of giving the Torah. The tractate in Ksuvot tells us that Kol HaMesameach Chosen, that someone that brings joy to the Chosen merits to the 5 sounds, the 5 different koilos that were given by the Torah, by the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. As we say it in chapter 29 in the Psalms, Kel Hashem B'Koyach, Kel Hashem B'Hodar. These are the 5 kelos that's what a person merits when they rejoice with the chassan, with the groom. Referring back to what was mentioned, that sometimes by a wedding we might lose focus on the priority of the wedding. So the question is, how could that happen? How could that take place? The ones that are running the wedding, the few people that are running the wedding, are either very close friends or have a vast experience in their past. So how is it that they should forget about the main objective of the wedding, which is giving the ring, the marriage, the establishment of the bond between the bride and the groom? So this will be understood with introducing a word from the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov's Yortzeit, day of passing, Hilula, is on the day of Shavuos. And the Baal Shem Tov brings an interesting verse in Tehillim, in Psalms, which the King David, who said the Psalms, he also passed away on Shavuos. So the Baal Shem Tov quotes from King David. King David says, a prayer to the poor person, when he wraps himself in the prayer and connects to the Almighty, and in front of the Almighty he pours out his words, pours out his heart, his words. So the question is, why is it expressed in twofold? That there is a prayer for the poor person, and in addition to that, comes another concept, that for the Almighty he pours out his heart. Why is it that King David needs to say it separately? Is already standing for the Almighty, so why does he have to specify as a separate thought? And the Baal Shem Tov explains it with a parable. A parable of a king that announced that everybody is invited. Everybody is invited to visit his palace. The king finds himself in a chamber which is inside all other rooms. Until a person comes to the king, there are many different chambers, one within the other. In every chamber, even in the first one, there are many precious things that a person does not find in the whole country. And therefore, as soon as a person goes into the first chamber, a person might be caught up and drowned in whatever they see, that they forget to go further. If he is a broad-minded person, one is a broad-minded person, so they might not lose themselves in the first chamber, but they might continue to the next one. The first chamber didn't really get them, didn't capture them, and therefore they're ready to go to the next one. The further and more inside that one person comes into the chamber, from one chamber to another, a person becomes involved and captured by what one sees. And to a certain extent, one is so captured by what they see that they forget to go into the most internal chamber where the king himself is. The same thing is also in a spiritual sense. In a spiritual sense, there are different revelations, there are different worlds, and each world actually gives us a deeper insight and a greater revelation of godliness. And because the revelations are very pleasuresome for the soul, understanding godliness, enjoying the levels of godliness, so a person might sometimes not realize that these are only revelations, but they have to get to the essence of everything. And the essence is the King himself. And the question is, how is it that a person should forget to come to the King? And how is it that only as David HaMelech says, King David says, Tfilah liyoni chiyatev, that when a poor person prays, so the Baal Shem Tov says, V'lefnei Hashem yishpech sichei. A poor person remembers that when he goes into a palace, he doesn't get lost or captured by the first chamber, the second chamber, the third chamber. He goes right into the King. So the question is, why is it that the poor person manages to go in, and people that are richer than the poor person don't realize that there is a King in the background? And the answer for that is, as it's explained, that when does a person realize that he wants essence and nothing else? When he is a poor person. A poor person does not look for any revelations. A poor person knows one thing. He finds himself in a very difficult situation, and therefore he wants completeness. He wants everything. And completeness could only be found in the essence of everything, who is the Almighty. If a person feels they are somebody, they are looking for revelation. Because actually, what are they? They are somebody, so they appreciate something that is also something. A revelation, an entity. But when somebody has nothing, they go to the other extreme. They look for everything. And this is what it means, and what King David is saying. In what consists the request of the poor person? That they should allow him to go lifnei avaya, in front, in the inside, most inside chamber that he can reach. And yishpech sichei, for him he's going to pour out, he's going to pray. And yishpech sichei means pour out the soul. As we have it by the tefillah of Hannah, by the prayer of Hannah, when she was asking for a child. As we read it, we recite it in the prophet, the reading of the prophet on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. She's asking for a child. And as it says that Eli, the Kohen Eli, considered her drunk. The way she spoke, the way she was asking. So the Rebbe asked the question, drunk with what? Drunk from what? So here the Rebbe explains a very interesting talk that the Rebbe gave on Rosh Hashanah 1975. 1975. The Rebbe says like this: Eli considered that she was drunk into physical matters. She's coming into the sanctuary and she's asking for gashmias, physical matters. Wow. He says, Vayachshaveh lishikeira. He felt she was drunk. She was sunk into her own personal needs. So he said to her, she said back to him, she responded, Vo'esh peches nafshi. She says, what does it mean drunk? I am pouring out not only my heart, my soul, in ganzen, as the Rebbe expressed himself in Yiddish, in ganzen uzgigos. The Rebbe says, I have nothing. I gave everything away. I poured out my whole core to the Almighty. And this is basically the request of the poor person. He should be able to stand for the king, or pray for the king. And this is also the explanation in regards to the wedding. When we say that the example for a wedding and the example for Shavuos is of a wedding, that sometimes there's so many things happening that they might forget the priority, the primary purpose of the wedding. I was once told that there was once a wedding, and they forgot to bring the ring. They forgot to bring the ring, and they were waiting before the chuppah and the ring. And the rabbi says, "Yeah, it's a good idea. We need the wedding. We need the ring."
Wow.
So this is basically what Shavuos is about, what Matan Torah is, what the giving of Torah is about. Because of the many different things that are happening by a wedding, sometimes a person can get distracted and forget about what is the objective of the wedding, the goal of the wedding, the bond between the two, the bride, the groom and the bride, and the bond that connects them together and creates a whole new world. What is this, and how is this reflected in the giving of the Torah? What could they forget about? So the answer is there were many revelations taking place by the giving of the Torah. As a preparation, they were counting the Omer. They counted the Omer. Which means counting the days. They were refining their character traits. We're talking about 49 days. That is 49 different components of character traits. This is an Aveda, this is a service. And this was preparing for the Torah. In addition to that, the counting of the Omer began by the generation that went out of Egypt. And they counted it as a countdown, as a yearning. They couldn't wait till they will actually get to the Torah, to the giving of the Torah. So basically, Sfiras HaOmer is already preparing for Matan Torah. These are the 49 days connecting us to Torah, and a yearning that we're waiting already, counting the days, 49, 48, 47. In addition to that, they also went through Egypt prior to that. Going through Egypt was basically an idea of Avedas Perech. They worked hard labor. Perech means breaking oneself.